Should I introduce? Should we introduce it all?
I think we should introduce. You could just be like Amir with.
I mean, if you listen to like Bill. Like,
Am I your host?
Yeah,
this is my house.
Podcast,
Okay.
Man.
Oh,
this
fuck.
is your podcast.
I'm your host.
So you basically are like, hey
Holy
guys,
shit.
it's Sarkis.
God damn it.
I'm here with my good buddies, and and we all like to talk about shit.
Like Spy Kids 3D,
The guy. I'm the guy. Welcome to Spy Kids.
3D, the movie, the podcast. In fact, I am the guy here.
Hey guys, it's Sarkis Johnson, and this is Spy Kids 3D, the movie, the podcast, and we're just going to talk about what realm we'd like to live in. So we got a lot of nice realms out there. We got Harry Potter realm, Hogwarts, all that.
So that's Sam. He's here with me. I'm your host, Sarkis Johnson. We're going to talk about some fun things here. I've got some other friends here. I've got my friend Nick.
Hello. Yep.
I am Taylor. Hello.
We've also got Taylor.
Hi.
So guys, what kind of universe? What fictional universe would you want to live into?
So,
Live in.
Sarkis. So.
All right, shut up with the superficial shit.
So we're talking like Star Wars universe, the Harry Potter universe. We could even get into like the Futurama universe if you wanted to live there. Maybe.
Whatever fictional universe. What would it be? Mine personally would be Star Wars because I want to be a Jedi. I've always wanted to be a Jedi. Well, yeah. I mean, what do you think?
Well, it's kind of interesting to think about being in fictional universes where there's a multiverse. Right. Because then if you know somebody in that universe that can travel between universes, then...
Like Doctor Who or something like
Yeah,
that? I've
then-
never seen that. I'm not sure.
then you may actually end up having access to more universes than just
and
one, right?
Morty.
If you just pick, like, I don't know, like Harry Potter, I guess. I would like to be in the Harry Potter universe. I think that'd be cool.
You'd like to be like a student at Hogwarts?
I feel like on Hogwarts, that'd be kind of cool.
I mean, that's the Harry
I'm
Potter
sorry.
realm,
I was going to say
essentially.
something. What were you just saying, Nick?
Oh, about the universe thing? Or what?
Yeah. So, if you want to live in, I forgot. It's funny. You're saying like our universe. We don't know if we have a multiverse for sure or not, but we know that, for instance, the Marvel universe has a multiverse. So you could go there and live in whichever one of those multiple universes. You could travel through the multiverse into a different universe, even if our universe has it or not. This is getting convoluted. And then go within that multiverse to whichever multiverse you want. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It would basically just be giving you more options, potentially.
Just to get something straight here, because are we talking like literally any universe you can think of from anything? Practically, what would you live in, kind of?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just clearing that up and making sure. So any conceivable fictional universe, like, it doesn't have to be like some nerd shit necessarily. It could be like some random show or like, I don't know. I guess it would have to be kind of fictionalized, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just any fictional universe you think you would.
Yeah, like regular show
live in.
universe, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Or Adventure Time.
Anything.
I don't know.
So, like, what do you think, Sam?
I don't know. Nick did get me thinking. I forgot about cartoons and stuff, and the
Right,
Land
yeah.
of Ooh.
Gumball?
That would be
Like,
pretty
that'd be-
cool.
Wait, what did you say?
The Land of Ooh, the Adventure Time
Oh, yeah.
universe.
Dude, that would be insane.
That would be interesting. And it's there's a lot of theories on a lot of cartoons like that, too. Like, there's an Adventure Time theory that is post-apocalyptic, the whole...
Based on our universe?
I'm pretty sure that was confirmed later in the show. They confirmed that there had been a atomic bomb that went off, and all the creatures formed from the explosion.
Right.
like radiation or something. And if you look in some of the episodes, or even in the intro, when it starts, it's kind of hard to tell because it goes up really fast, but it goes up from underground, and you can see there's stuff like there's like a tank underground.
Yeah, I've seen some of
and
that
stuff, and
There's like
a lot
isn't
of
there skeletons?
yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah, that would be super sick to live in Adventure Time. Jeez. And then meet fucking Finn and Jake.
Sarkis, you said you wanted to live in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it would be cool to be a Jedi. I mean, like, you could the whole thing with the midichlorians. You know, you could get your M count up and be a Jedi. Have the Force. I feel to me the Force is the coolest like ability and thing to have.
I feel like everyone at one point or another has thought about living in these universes of shows we've watched, and I've definitely
Especially as a kid.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even in adulthood, but I feel like
Yeah.
In
Dreamers
Star
of it.
Wars, I've definitely thought about that one, and I feel like it seems cool, you know, outside of it, watching it, to be a Jedi and stuff. But then I feel like if that was our reality, you take on responsibility. It's super fucking dangerous. Like you're
Right.
lucky to survive. Tons
Right.
of Jedis are not
You can't have a
a
girlfriend at all.
commodity. Yeah, you're probably celibate. Or, you know, I don't know if I can do that.
No, they're actually allowed to have sex.
I'm pretty sure Jedi, like the concept, was based in like Buddhism. Like I'm pretty sure.
Monks or something.
Yeah, like kind of they're kind of like Buddhists. I guess they often will meditate, and that kind of brings them, I guess, closer to the Force. And
That was also just the point in time we saw in the prequels. I don't know if you know, the view on the Jedi changed in any other point in time, you know.
Like, you mean about like Buddhism? Like,
No. I'm saying like you couldn't have a girlfriend, you know. They were strict on these rules.
yeah, right.
They could have loosened up over the years.
The Jedi Order has been an ever changing order
Right,
since
right.
for thousands of years. Yeah.
And even in spin-off shows like Mandalorian and stuff, there's I don't want to give any spoilers, but there are
Spoiler alert.
There are scenes where, you know, there definitely seems to be kind of a like there is a scene where a character meditates.
Well, the
And-
Mandalorian is like after the Jedi Order has fallen.
Right.
So it's just rogue Jedi that are like doing what they think is the right thing to do in the universe,
Definitely.
based on their knowledge from the Jedi Temple and everything.
Yeah. But I don't know, to get back on topic, kind of, I feel like there's so many. For me, I don't know why I've always kind of had the idea when I think of living in a different universe of like Middle Earth. I just feel like the Shire would be super cool, but also, you know, the elf temple or whatever is pretty badass.
So you would go to the Lord of the Rings universe.
Yeah, you know, that's what I think about. I feel like when I think of like anything like Rick and Morty or whatever, yeah, you'd have the ray gun or whatever, but it's pretty much just our modern civilization, our world. I think there's a more appeal to me when I think of more nerd shit, like, you know, like Star Wars or stuff like that, where there's more of a kind of I don't know.
A sort of je ne sais quoi, no? Yeah. Wait, Taylor, did you say one? What one would you want to go to?
I mean, Star Wars is really cool. I definitely love the Star Wars. The films are amazing. I mean, to be a Jedi would be awesome. You know, to have the power of the Force, to wield a lightsaber would be, you know, it would be amazing. And then just to be able to get in a spaceship and travel from one planet and
one star system to another.
One
even.
star system to another. Go from the outer rim to the inner rim, and meet all these people, and fictional characters would be really cool.
Do they ever? I mean, as far as I know, they don't really account for time dilation, right?
Yeah, go into that because I actually I'm not entirely familiar here.
Star Wars and their like accounts of physics is so incredibly inaccurate.
Yeah.
Like when they'll run up on stars, and it's like they're like such a big portion of the star, like in frame, that it's like,
do me a favor here. What is time dilation?
Well, if you want to get into
you don't have to go too deep into it, but just give me a general idea here.
Well, it's based in Einstein's general theory of relativity.
Think like Interstellar, Taylor. You really like that movie, like how I haven't seen it, but I know that his loved ones get old, and he's
spoiler alert here.
It doesn't matter. It's been out for fucking years.
I just I feel like that's
so like you're so in Interstellar, they're close to a black hole, and that they're on the planet that's close to a black hole, and it is.
And Christopher Nolan doesn't age as fast as the people back on Earth.
Is the director?
I meant
Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey.
So they're on this planet.
Hey.
They're on this planet here, and and every hour or so is like years on Earth, right? And they're and because of they're close to a black hole. The planet.
It's because of the gravity of the black. We're talking about
the gravitational pull. The gravitational pull from the black hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
The black hole has a large gravitational pull, and I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, but Einstein's theory of general relativity, in the equations, there is features that make time act differently in different frames of reference. That's basically it. Gravity can affect that.
I forget our point.
Yeah, that's an example of more specifically gravitational time dilation. Whereas also what can affect time between two observers is velocity. Which, do you want to go into that, Sarkis?
That has to do with mass, which has to do with gravity. It's all essentially just gravity. That's ultimately gravity is the cause of all time dilation.
Whenever you guys are ready to completely, I just thought of a completely different subject change.
What you got? What you got?
I think this is honestly a bit too much.
It's time.
Here.
What do you got?
Go ahead.
The Simpsons, and what do you think of the interesting coincidences?
You're gonna go there with that stuff. Okay. So we're gonna
Matt Groening. Supposedly, Matt Groening is a time traveler, and he's made all these predictions that have supposedly come true. And there's a theory out there that Matt Groening is a time traveler.
Yeah,
I'm not absolutely ridiculous. I will add here.
Just to give some insight,
time travel is not possible. I will say that.
I agree, but I'm
and also, Samuel, I'm sorry for interrupting, but the points or the instances that are made in the show aren't that crazy. Like, they will predict. Can you give me an example here?
Hold on. I don't think we fully explained this whole thing that we're talking about. Sam, go ahead, explain the whole thing.
Okay,
for
so
us, please.
real quick, I just want to give some insight and say that I myself am a little bit more. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm a little bit more comparatively to the rest of the three gentlemen here, Taylor, Sarkis, and Nick. I myself am a little bit more imaginative, or not imaginative, but I'm more. The only word I can think of is visceral. Okay,
he's got more of a smooth brain going on.
Okay, no. I'm. They go more based off of logic and fact and science, and I kind of think with my heart a little bit more, or my feelings, you know. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say time travel is possible, blah, 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 but I am going to speculate it because of instances like Matt Groening and The Simpsons predicting these wild, countless throughout their 30-year run
Nice one, Taylor.
thing of predictions. I don't even know if they are predictions so much as coincidences. It is kind of, but they are some gnarly coincidences, such as, I forget the exact equation here, but this one for me
The
kind of
Drake
took
equation
the
is what
cake.
you're talking about, I believe, right?
It's
Alien civilization thing?
no. It's
It was the Higgs boson one.
I think it is that.
That's what it was.
It's basically they did an episode kind of spoofing
The
off
God
of
particle. quote
yeah,
unquote.
they're spoofing off of Goodwill Hunting, that
Right,
Matt
yeah, yeah.
Damon, Robin Williams movie, and Homer is like a janitor,
Yeah.
and he solves like a problem. You know, he basically solves the God particle equation on the board, and that was
In physics terms, i.e., he predicts the Higgs boson.
right, and you know that episode aired in 97, and then in 2006, I believe, or 2007, around 10 years later, they actually solved the Higgs boson, and it was or the God particle, the fucking equation.
You said boson. You fucking bozo.
I said boson.
Boson. It's boson.
Boson.
I'm just
Okay,
nitpicking. It's not one or the other.
Smooth brain. I will tell you one more time.
And basically, okay, my enunciation isn't perfect, but you get the idea. And so what I'm saying is that episode aired in 97, 2006, around 10 years later, they solved the actual equation, and it is like to the T the same thing. That is what kind of coincidence?
You're saying that in 2006 or wherever it happened to happen. I
In
think
97, they made the episode, and then in 2006 or whatever, the actual
the equation was
equation
actually
was
finished.
Finished, yes.
And then they realized that
And it matched.
The Simpsons
It was
the same
identical.
one.
10 years prior to, you know.
The Simpsons is a really big thing in pop culture. Everybody knows The Simpsons. Physicists know The Simpsons.
And the writers
Think
on
about-
The Simpsons are very smart, and they also have degrees in science.
I did not know that.
Where did you hear that? Where?
I
You know,
tried to make that argument to say
don't-
I didn't know that they actually
Don't
like
quote me on
studied
it. I will
science.
actually research for a second and see, but I am pretty sure that the writers on The Simpsons do have degrees in science and are knowledgeable in the things that they write.
Well, and then I was going to say, wasn't there speculation that the Higgs boson existed in 1997?
The Higgs boson is a particle based on the standard model of the universe, and I'm not quite sure when it was predicted, but honestly, to me, I would think that it would be, way earlier in the 1900s. They figured out relativity. General relativity was sussed out in 1905. They knew about black holes in 1905.
That's wild.
That the Higgs boson, way back in 1964, Belgium's Francois Elgert and Britain's Peter Higgs independently theorized the existence of a subatomic particle that came to be known as the Higgs boson. So that's what it just says when you look that up on Google.
Okay,
1964
but
is when the Higgs boson was
regardless of that,
figured out.
it still was an unsolved equation that puzzled scientists that so happens The Simpsons solved in their little
If they
show writing 10 years prior. Like, that is some weird shit, man. And that's just one of dozens. That's all I'm saying.
if they knew about the Higgs boson, they would have equations and mathematics describing the Higgs boson. The Higgs boson, if any particle is theorized, it's fully sussed out in the mathematics before it's discovered.
I actually have a question. Why, if they traveled back in time and figured out... So you're saying they traveled back in time. How does that factor in? Exactly?
I'm not necessarily saying that, but that is the theory. And
I get it. So you're saying it would... So the Higgs boson? No, that's dumb.
that's the only thing
Nope,
that makes
that's
sense
dumb.
to me.
No, it's dumb. It's dumb.
For it to be... I
You're
think
wrong,
that's
Sam.
too large of a coincidence.
You're wrong.
They have many predictions that came true somehow. Like there's this one where Donald Trump was the president. I don't know when the episode aired, but he's going down an escalator and a paper is flying. And then in I don't know, 2017 or whenever, Donald Trump is going down an escalator and there's a paper flying. And someone took this picture.
Frame by frame, it was identical.
Which is an incredible coincidence.
Crazy.
But like,
Not arguing that point.
but like, why? Like, I just like.
Well, what would be the point
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just gonna
why?
say, like-
why would you travel back in time
Why
and
would
do
you,
all of that?
You're making a comedy show, a cartoon comedy show. Why would
Occam's
you?
razor.
I'm sorry.
Occam's razor.
Did we talk about this on this podcast, or was that the last one?
That was the last take.
Okay, so I actually already forgot what that was. So okay, we'll just disregard that.
If you know, you know.
Sure. So
Occam's
okay,
razor says that
I
you need to
think-
pick.
okay, we-
Taylor, shut the fuck up.
Okay.
Occam's razor says that if out of every theory, I'm sorry, Taylor, that was rude, but I got to explain this real quick. Out of every theory, the theory that takes the least extra steps and is the easiest is probably the accurate theory.
Right. Okay. So how does that coincide to what we're talking about?
That's not, Sam, to your point, that's not always the case that the least the simplest theory is the best
But in
one.
most cases.
But in most cases it seems to be that way.
But okay, so just I was off the mic. I asked why when he said the theory that takes the least amount of steps is most likely correct. I asked why, and I suppose it's based off of statistics.
I mean, essentially, what do you say?
Most theories that have
Yeah.
been proven correct have taken the least amount of steps.
I mean, it's just the simplest to work with. So if you have competing theories, I mean, you might as well, I suppose, start with the one that deals with the least amount of variables, right? I mean, that seems to be logical.
Yeah, the one that makes the most sense. that
And then
deals
work
with-
from there.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about Matt Groening being a time traveler. How about we talk about? Let's give our insight whether you believe time travel is possible or not. Because
Okay,
I,
yeah.
in fact, believe time travel isn't impossible. Sarkis can probably go into a little bit more detail than what I can describe.
Isn't impossible or isn't possible?
Is impossible.
Is impossible.
I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm a little inebriated here. Pardon me for miscommunicating here. What would I say? It's a impossible. Time travel it's not a thing. There's no way for human beings to time travel forward or backward in time.
Are you all right, Sam?
I don't know if you can hear that, but Sam's dying on a bong hit. Pussy? No, I'm just kidding.
You have something to say,
Samuel is
Sam?
gonna say some high thoughts real quick.
All right, I got something to say after you because I have
Well-
some thoughts on this.
Yeah, definitely. I do too. Like, so I was saying to Nick the other day, I feel like I'm pretty perceptive. I try to be an all-seeing eye and see it from all viewpoints, even ones that I oppose or are less lean towards less. And I feel like, in your guys' case, more for you, I feel like even if time travel were possible, it would probably, incinerate a human being if they could time travel through wormholes or whatever. I feel like if it was possible, you would die if you did it. It would be like some type of fucked up shit. I don't know.
Well, I think the first thing I see is there's a problem of causality. So the idea that the future can cause the past doesn't seem to be coherent. And then I think we need to be careful about how we define the past, right? So here we are sitting in this moment, right? Now, if we travel back to that moment a couple seconds ago, if we're all sitting here and then we're all four like standing over there, the past where we were all four just sitting here and the past where we're now standing there are two different paths. The way I would make a distinction. So I don't.
The universe
another way to
on a time travel.
Yeah, another way to put it would be okay. Right now, there's a certain number of atoms in the observable universe, I guess, and we make up that number, right? So if you summed up all of the particles, let's just say in the observable universe, it gives you some number. I don't know what that number is. I don't know if you
it's
have
something
any.
people have done that before, yeah, or at least an estimate.
But if we were to travel back 5 seconds ago, and then we now have added 4 individuals, all made of particles, now you've increased the amount of total particles, right? So that past where you have an increase in particle count, I would say is a different past because there's a different amount of matter.
So
right?
the conservation theories all still are still active at any point in branch in time within the universe, right?
Is that what you're saying, Nick?
I think so, yeah, essentially something
and I would
along
also
those lines.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And then I would also say that yeah, that's it.
I mean,
Forgot.
okay, I kind of had a prying question for you, Nick, like, because you were mentioning, you know, if you know, we traveled over there, you know, but we're still sitting here or whatever, that would increase the amount of observable atoms in the universe or whatever. But then that begs the question of multiple universes or whatever, right? Like, kind of like, again, what you were saying about the future affecting the past and how that kind of doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't really make sense to me either, unless, you know, you speculate the idea that there are, you know, alternate universes.
Okay, so time working backwards. So the conservation laws also apply to time. I'm kind of talking loosely on that, but I mean that going forward in time and going backward in time, the physics are just forward time physics and backward time physics. So the physics work out both ways, and you can actually, I think so, and you can actually invert the time variable in these equations, and it still makes sense. It still equals out.
Okay. But I suppose that's different. So making time go backwards is different than basically magically going from one moment in time and then transforming back into a moment before. Unless you're assuming that in order to do that, you'd have to be, I guess, along that process, you're traveling backwards. But
You'd
then
have to be experiencing.
But then everything else is traveling backwards with you. But I think most people, when they think of time travel, they're thinking everything else is still going forwards. But somehow you went back.
You're separate from your time is separate. Which I mean, everything.
I don't think that makes
different
sense.
Reference frames according to time.
Yeah,
Everything's time is different from everything else.
So okay, I kind of had a brain fart right as I grabbed the mic here, but so basically, what I was gonna say is, I feel like I forgot. It was something good, though. It was something... I shouldn't have hit that. Like... It was something Nick said that...
Going backward, like if your time's going backwards.
If you're time traveling,
If you're time traveling. What were you gonna say? If you're time traveling.
Nick was saying if you were to time travel 5 seconds ago and we ourselves were standing over there watching.
No. You were over there peeing. You didn't hear. So it was. I'm sorry, Nick. Do you remember a little bit like of the last paragraph or so you were saying?
Well,
Can we change topics? This brings up
yeah.
something
I mean,
specific.
were you trying to remember?
We'll get back to this eventually, but
All right.
this is cool to talk about. What you're experiencing right now, Sam, I experience that so often when you're talking and you're actively like engaged in a conversation, and then all of a sudden you just forget everything. Like it's just all gone. It just completely blank slate, right? Is that what just happened, kind of?
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
It happens so much to me. Too.
It doesn't happen like too often to me, but I feel like it happens to everyone enough. Like everyone's definitely experienced that. I don't know if you experience it maybe a more abnormal amount or whatever.
I think I do.
Or maybe
I
you're
mean, I
prone
literally
to
experience it,
dementia.
like, once or twice a conversation.
Really?
It's awful.
I don't.
It's short-term memory. Your short-term memory is just deteriorated from
I feel like it's
smoking weed and
Yeah.
abusing your.
I was just about to say, I think it's easier to lose topic or lose sight of what you were saying when you're inebriated and like.
Sure,
but
yeah.
it's also, I don't know. It's such a kind of an oxymoron. It also makes it easier to talk and to like think of random stuff to talk about, but then it's easier to lose thought. It's easier to go on tangents and hop around, but it's also you're more susceptible to like losing your train of thought, which is that is essentially what happened to me. I was over here for some reason and I heard you and Nick talking, and Nick said something about the whole time travel deal, and I was about to say something interesting that would take us deeper into that, and it would probably be in one of the most interesting things I've said this whole podcast.
Oh, really?
But I also had another thought
That
that
was
I
the thing
didn't
we forgot.
forget that was switching the topic.
Oh yeah, what's that?
But it was basically I wanted to get your guys' 2 cents about what you feel and think about the NSA. Mainly because I saw this tape over the webcam here on the laptop, and it made me think.
Sam, you brought up this topic. What do you think? You think they're listening to our every word and looking at our photos that we take and our phone calls and what you look up on the internet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think they're listening to this podcast before everybody else?
I don't know. That's a little deep, but Maybe. Like, I'm not going to deny it, and there's no way to disprove it. And there's also, other than, the Constitution or whatever the fuck you want to throw in there that our founding fathers laid down before, like,
There's a cool song called NSA Blues that actually goes over this topic. It's pretty funny.
By who?
I actually have no idea. I'll look it up here in a second, but it pretty much goes over what I just said and how they're, listening to what we're saying, and
That sounds sick, but
they know when you're.
I want to hand the mic over to the three of you guys and see what y'all have to say, kind of about
It's funny
how you feel.
You talk about the tape over the. So you said the tape over the camera there, over the webcam. We're recording on Nick's computer here, and there's a piece of tape over the webcam so as not to let any NSA/hackers see through his webcam, because that is very much possible. I do the same thing, not because of the NSA, but because of hackers. Because I had a friend in high school who literally did that in front of my eyes. I saw him go into someone else's computer and look at them through their webcam, eating cereal.
But our buddy Nick here is also in a completely different software here. What is this that you're using?
Right now?
It doesn't matter what is happening on the computer. You can even be on the webcam yourself. They can still look through it.
Even when we're using this random software, they can still be listening to.
Abso-frickin-lutely.
Well, okay, then I am sorry for putting my input in here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the NSA, I mean, I really haven't given it that much thought. So
I think it's definitely possible that the NSA is like looking at us and doing that stuff.
Have you
I
not
mean, we may
given
wanna
it much thought, Nick, because you like could
Well-
kind of give a fuck, or
no, I mean, I think once again we could kind of invoke Occam's razor
There you go. Yeah.
and say,
Sure.
you know, I mean, how much of the information on a given webcam is like meaningful or useful? Probably mostly.
But
is
could then
junk
it be
to
just
people.
as like a defense? Like maybe not everything's good, but maybe they'll catch something.
Yeah,
I am a huge conspiracist, and I feel like I have my little conspiracy theory answers to like every single one of your speculations, including that one. Like, why would they? And I feel like there is a bigger agenda
I guess.
than we could
I guess it's possible.
fathom or care to try to take over, because we can't.
I feel as if they would only be looking or listening if they had something to pin on us. Like, say we were, found somewhere doing something suspicious, then they would put because there's so many people here,
So if you were just to go on some random mic somewhere and go bum 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 bum,
well, yeah, like they wouldn't. They're not listening to what we're doing now. If one of us here were found somewhere else doing something suspicious, then they would probably pique an interest and then listen to
and
what
then
we're saying.
start looking at
So
your.
yeah, I would say they're probably not listening to this.
What do you mean, like suspicious? Like, what would
Just
we have
anything,
to? What would we have to do, like, for the government?
You know what? Honestly, I don't know.
Yell bomb in an airport. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, no, yelling bomb,
Yeah, but like, how many people do that? Just
yelling
to fuck
Allahu
around
Akbar or something crazy.
okay, but let's say we like conspired to rob a bank theoretically.
No, see,
disclaimer: we are not going to rob a bank.
We're
but,
robbing a bank tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
I'm
But
gonna rob all the banks.
but no, let's say
I don't think that would be enough. I think it would be something detrimental to the people higher up, like the government. If we were saying like something crazy,
I
that I'm not
have
gonna
a
say,
whole
but like
idea, like if they were to be
attention NSA, tomorrow at 9 o'clock a.m. we are going to
No, hold on.
Eat all your
Taylor,
cereal and
hold on. Before I lose
drink all your milk.
Before I lose topic, I want to recap here. So basically, I feel like there's numerous reasons. First off, there's kind of a hole in what you said there. Like, I don't think they'd listen in unless, like, we were doing something suspicious. How would they even know if we're doing something suspicious unless they're listening in?
Okay, yeah,
like,
I just happen to get caught somehow, just somewhere. Again, like yelling.
yeah, but
Sure, okay, so
what are they
maybe-
checking? Local police records?
So,
Like,
I don't know how it works, what they're doing, anyways.
Special terrorist watching organization.
Oh, sure.
I think no. I really
Who
think
knows?
that it all started back. I
But-
feel like our
Okay,
kind
okay.
of our
Maybe
have
Go
a
ahead.
theory.
What you got, Nick?
We're turning the frogs gay. That's what's happening.
Well, yeah. If you think about it literally, I think the water is turning the freaking frogs gay.
So
for
Nick,
sure.
you're basically saying that I sound like a fool.
I'm a man.
No, I'm just joking.
That's
around.
actually a really good point, Nick.
I don't know. I feel like
exactly what you think, Sam.
I feel like
That's how
partly
I-
what you would say is what something I guess Alex Jones would say, but
Let's get Alex Jones on the
But
next
that doesn't
episode. We're gonna have Alex
Okay,
Jones on the podcast.
No. Fuck Alex Jones.
No,
I mean, I'm sure Alex.
Please
I'm
make
not
that
gonna lie. I'm sure he shares my views in this.
Oh, I'm
but
sure he
thinks
does.
a lot of preposterous shit. He thinks a lot of silly things, but some of them are true.
He thinks
like,
he thinks
you can't
like
say
Columbine
he
was
believes in
faked,
gravity.
Samuel.
Gravity's real. Like, there are some things he believes in that make sense, and to me, this is one of them. I don't.
He believes in
like Alex
interdimensional
Jones.
beings and all sorts of jazz.
Yeah, I'm not that guy.
You're that guy, but
I'm not that guy.
Hold on, you don't like his extreme conspiracy.
No.
I mean, he's
Honestly,
No,
cool
I'm-
as a
like
person
him
in a satirical standpoint.
I'm just saying.
correct?
Yeah,
I
sure,
mean,
sure.
You're like
All
he's a
I'm
cool person,
saying
bro. Like I've
it-
seen him on.
He's not.
I'm
a
just
cool
saying
person.
that he probably. What I'm saying right now, he probably.
nice. Like not. He's
Hold
not
on.
gonna like go murder everybody.
Oh no, of course not. But he's just not a very smart
Okay,
guy.
you
in the
guys are
things
totally
he
going
believes.
off on a huge tangent.
You brought up Alex Jones, bud. That's
I
the
did
farthest
not.
you can go. Who brought up Alex Jones?
Nick.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Nicholas. Nicholas,
Well,
I stand
quoted
corrected.
him. I quoted him.
You quoted Alex Jones.
I mean, I guess you could say
That
it.
was a.
Is that what he said?
No, he
Yeah.
said
Yeah, he
the
said
water
that.
is turning the freaking frogs gay or something
Okay,
along the lines of that.
I don't. That's silly. I mean,
It's not silly, Sam. These are some real
He
things.
might-
It has to do so with things that people are putting in the water.
Fluoride.
I honestly don't know shit. Hold on.
Why do you think we have water bottles?
Let me speak.
Why can't
Let
we
me
just
get a
drink
full
water?
paragraph in real quick because it's real. It's not meme. It's real, and that's what we're doing. So, I don't know Alex Jones' views or all I know of Alex Jones is the meme culture. He seems like he's fucking ridiculous. I don't know shit about him really, but basically, I could speculate that maybe he was saying the water's turning the frickin' frogs gay or whatever the silly thing you said was.
I'm sure he was just
because
using
he
an analogy
was
himself.
whatever inebriated or just dumb and saying
I don't think any of us have seen that very thing that he says. Have you, Nick?
I have. I have.
I think.
And in the future, we should be able to
That's
pull
what
up
he said.
videos and stuff and show you guys what we're talking about. But he has in fact said that, and I have seen the video.
okay,
But I don't quite know if he
saying-
himself is being satirical.
I think he's just saying that as like a what's the word? A analogy or whatever. An analogy for maybe he's talking about fluoride in the water.
yeah,
or
no, he's
something.
just
Like,
he's
it
just
could've been-
making it so outrageous.
You're
but-
making an argument like how like Christians try to
Ooh,
change their.
let's talk about
their
Christians
verse.
and religion, please.
Okay.
He's gonna want to bring up religion.
That's a
and-
whole
and-
nother topic, but you guys want to get into that?
Let's do it.
Are we topic hopping?
We're topic hopping right now.
Yeah.
Topic hopping on over to the Jod upstairs.
I mean, no one here is
So-
a Christian though.
Well, okay.
I do have
I was
Christ crucified on my arm, and people probably tattooed on my arm. People probably think that I'm religious, but
Fraud.
I think that'll be less of a thought when I get, Lucifer on the other arm. I think they'll get the idea.
Yeah, that you're
just carrying both of them.
just spiritual, as opposed to religion.
You should have just got the yin yang then, right?
Yeah,
I mean-
there you go.
That's kind of the equivalent, I guess.
It's kind of that double
That's-
triangle.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Taylor, you were
We should talk about triangles, man. Like, triangles are everything.
Yeah, sine, cosine, cotangent.
Jesus Christ. Taylor, you fucking Jesus. Taylor, you were
All right.
you were not raised religious, right? But your parents were religious.
Yeah, so I grew up in my grandparents' house. They were extremely religious. I, in fact, remember sitting in bed with them and them asking me if I wanted fucking Jesus in my heart or whatever crazy bullshit.
Were you born atheist, Taylor?
I don't think anyone is born, you're raised on thought. So, like, whatever you're taught, you kind of think. So
That's why it kind of boggles my mind that like everyone in your family was very religious, but you turned out to be like atheist.
That's how smart he is.
Sure. So I wouldn't necessarily say that at all. But so yeah, I was raised religious. I moved out of my grandparents' house with my mom, and she was also religious, and she kept, teaching me fucking the way of God or whatever the fuck, taking me to church and stuff. And, certain things happened in my life where it turned out that I kind of realized that just doesn't quite add up, Like, I mean, that's just my own opinion. Like, I don't know what anyone else believes, but it just is, to me, it seems like a fairy tale. Like, it just is so outlandish. I mean, if you want to hop into like simulation theory and some other being created the simulation we're in,
No,
then
we just got on Christianity, man.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That would technically be our God.
Or religion or whatever.
Okay, I'm
let's
sorry.
Focus
I
on
did
Christianity
kind
for
of
the
go off there.
subject of religion.
Taylor, yeah, like if simulation theory was like a thing, then the creator of that simulation would be a god. But I was gonna say, you wait. What were you saying? God, see, it happened again with the whole. I was gonna say something.
I was raised religious, and certain things happened in my life where I kind of.
Yeah, so I was never raised under any religion. My parents were, well, I mean, my mom was raised Jewish, and my dad was not necessarily raised anything, I believe. And so they, by the time they had me, they were not giving me any kind of religious thoughts. They were like, you know, research it, go into it, do what you want with that stuff. We're not going to teach you. We were inclusive, so we had Hanukkah and Christmas, which was kind of fun because I got to. I guess technically, because my mom is actually is. She was like,
we're gonna have to end the podcast right now. I don't deal with these Jewish types. So.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah,
Probably not.
wow, Taylor, that was
Okay.
that was crazy. Okay.
I stand.
You guys know who Ricky Gervais is?
Anyway,
You guys know who Ricky Gervais is?
wait.
Sorry, you were on a point. I'm sorry. You can keep.
Fuck.
You can keep
So
going.
apologize. Sarkis was talking about his upbringing and his parents
No.
being super cool, and also raising him with Hanukkah and Christmas.
Well, I was going to get into a point, but I'd like Sarkis to finish it.
We were talking about religion and
Yeah, no,
Why-
it's related. What I
So-
was going to say. but-
okay, Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
We're working with only 2 microphones right now and 4 people. So it's kind of difficult to convey everybody's opinion all at the same time at once. So bear with us. I was saying that I wasn't necessarily raised religious, and if anything, I've always been agnostic to religion. But given in the past decade at least, I've been fully I don't even know spirituality, nothing, none of that. It just doesn't have any bearing to me whatsoever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Taylor. Wow.
Well, I actually had a comment, or I kind of wanted
Yeah, what were you gonna
to
say,
make
Nick?
a point about something. Just kind of religion as a whole, I guess. So, Ricky Gervais, he was on, I think, The Tonight Show.
I think the S is silent. It might not
Gervais?
be. I might be a dick.
Yeah,
You're definitely
well,
wrong.
the guy who made The Office. So, I mean, I'm sure he's not the first guy to bring it up, but he kind of made this point that, if you were to destroy, all of the religious texts, right? Let's just say every religious
Like
text.
the Bible.
Yeah, the
and
Bible, the Quran, all those.
the Tao.
And then let's say you do the same thing with all the scientific texts, right? So Newton's laws are thrown out, Einstein's laws are thrown out, so all of those. Okay, so if you were to try to rediscover those books, let's say. So with religion, I would say you would never discover it again.
Hold on.
the same
Are
way.
you saying that you throw those texts out having already known the knowledge, they've been around?
Yeah,
and
well,
now
let's
we throw
say
them out?
one generation destroys them all, and then the next generation has no
Just
knowledge.
for simplicity, there's just a complete restart on knowledge.
Okay, yeah, that's another way to.
No prior knowledge.
So I would argue that, kind of what he argued, I guess, was the religious texts would never come back the same. They would always come back differently, and probably very differently. Whereas the science would come back the same. You would.
I got a point to that.
You would rediscover Newton's laws. You would rediscover Einstein's equations.
But you would rediscover them differently, probably.
No, you would come. You would find. I mean,
I'm not so sure that you would discover them the same.
you don't think so?
If we discover some alien race in the future, and they have their own science and stuff,
Okay.
It'll essentially describe.
Which is possible.
Sure. It'll
Okay.
essentially describe the same thing, and we can get to the same places and do the same stuff.
Right.
But I don't know if that science will be the same science because like for instance,
Okay.
Newton's laws described some stuff, and then Einstein came around and he described the same and more. So that's a different.
But I guess the
frame.
point would be they would always be available to discover, in some sense.
The general
if you
ideas
were on Earth and you destroyed Newton's law, you
Like
could eventually
magnetism-
recover it.
right, like electromagnetism will be there to discover.
Yes.
Like always.
Now you.
Whereas
okay, 'cause-
God, as like the Western God, is
I'm sure something
not
like that
gonna.
would come up again.
I don't think so. I don't think it would come up the same. It would be very different.
Sure, but like
Well, and then to
I don't really. I mean,
a further point to that is that's why you have so many different religions, right? Like practically every culture has some form of religion, right?
That almost
Whereas
disproves what you're
science,
saying, though.
no, but science isn't culture bound, right? So Newton's laws work for here; they
But-
work in any culture.
Weren't
right?
you just saying?
So they're universal in some sense, right? And that's why I think scientists are actually. I think they're more. Because people have been going to war over that kind of stuff. That's what's kind of wrong about it. And, I mean, it often leads to the kind of thinking where people don't want to invest in progress because they just want to invoke God, right? It's like if we don't understand the planets, then we're just going to say it's the heavens. And
Not if
It's
the
beyond.
concept of religion was thrown out the window.
yeah, but
feel
people
like
were, I mean...
You were saying if we threw out all the religious texts, all the scientific texts,
Yeah.
and we would rediscover religion differently, and
Yeah,
we
you'd
would
never have...
discover science the same.
In some sense, yeah,
But
you would find the same equation.
Didn't you also mention? Are you saying like you don't think the concept of a god would come to surface again?
I mean, it could, but it would.
You think it's unlikely?
Well, once again, it would come in multiple forms.
Well,
It
that's
would-
what
it
I'm
would-
saying. Like, there's so many different forms. Allah and
Right, but there's
Hare Krishna.
no actual evidence for any of them.
But the idea
Right?
of a all-knowing, all-powerful being, sure, whatever adjective you want to freaking use, there's always that. You guys are talking without the
Yes.
microphone, and it's being weird for the audio. So can you wait to have the microphone to talk? Hey, why don't we get some more microphones? Taylor says, "Yeah, maybe we should do that."
yeah, we need a bigger interface or more inputs.
We need, yeah.
But-
outside, so
Also outside. So I feel like, yeah, the concept of a god is fairly common in all religions, or most religions at least, and it's kind of similar through all religions. So I feel like the same as you'll find the same electromagnetism, you'll find the same god. Sort of, you know.
except for Orthodox Satanists, they don't have a god.
Right, but
This is why I said most. And what's weird is, Sam, I'm kind of agreeing with you.
but see, there would only be one.
That the concept of a god would resurface if we threw everything out and restarted. It would inevitably be a concept again.
You would. I don't think you could get the same exact conceptions of God.
not
exactly.
the same exact, but I all
Right?
I,
Whereas you
I-
would get exactly
I
the
agree
same
with Sam
equations.
as well. People,
I
people
think.
need something else. Most people are scared and they want to believe that they go somewhere after they die, and that also they have something to look towards instead of looking inward. So they will most always come to, like Sam is saying, a God perspective or something.
like I was saying, the same like alien race or human race can come to the same. They will both know about the electromagnetic
Yeah.
spectrum and everything, but it'll be described differently. So
So are you saying when you say describe differently? Are you saying like mathematics would be one language and the aliens may use a different form.
I'll use a different example. Gravity.
Okay.
Say Newton is an alien species. The way he describes gravity is different from the Einstein species that describes gravity.
Yes, but I don't know. I thought, well, the basic point is that it's always there it always has the potential to be rediscovered. I guess that's the main point.
Sure, I'm not saying it would be rediscovered the exact same way. I'm just saying, like, in most general terms, the concept of an omniscient being that you worship would resurface. I feel almost no matter how many times you restarted your knowledge of religion and science. I just feel like it's an inevitable.
Yeah, I just don't think that God is whatever that thing is. If it is there, it's not really relevant to what's going on here.
No, not it really isn't. It really isn't. But I feel like some people are just overly gratuitous and feel like they need to.
I would say that God is
have a penance or something.
I mean, I don't want to sum up, I guess. I would say a lot of why people believe in God is because it's kind of a way to combat nihilism, I guess. It's one theory that
I've met nihilistic Christians, man.
Is that really a thing?
Yeah, how does that work exactly?
I mean, you can be a Christian and not be religious. Like there's Christianity.
Well,
no. Let me combat your stupid thoughts.
Enlighten me, Sam.
Every Christian is a hypocrite, and they all know it.
Let me just say here real quick. Christianity is dumb.
Okay, we're trying to speak cleverly here.
My God, Christianity is dumb. We're trying to speak cleverly here. That's oxymoronic. Religion is incoherent thought, is what we're trying to say, I think.
I forgot what I was going to say prior to Taylor saying Christianity is dumb, but nihilistic Christians. There we go. Yeah, so that is a thing, dude. Or I said there are Christians that aren't religious. Like Christianity and other religions are very common amongst gangs, people that fucking kill people.
Yeah, but I mean, then you're kind of just changing the definition of Christian. Because typically when people say Christian, they're
sinners,
talking about...
but people adapt. People are all different, and then
they're just using Christianity as a metaphor, essentially, is what you're saying.
Everyone perceives religion in their own way. Like, I feel like everyone inside of the same church is all listening and...
Which just further invalidates
receiving the
right?
message differently. Yeah, I mean,
In a sense.
yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not arguing for religion or anything.
No, I understand.
I'm just saying that I feel like, so I was raised pretty fucking Christian. Like I was
going to ask that next, were you?
Yeah, I was like your fucking stereotypical suburban Christian suburban family.
Were you an altar boy?
No, nothing like that. Like but when I was super young, when my parents were still married, I was like, we were like Christian suburban rich family, like wealthy, and went to a church every Sunday and all that jazz. Would pray at dinner.
Here, Sam, did you just go for the donuts like I did, or did you actually believe in it? Because I went for the donuts, but
I believed in it, like I mentioned before. Like I don't know, I'm easily persuaded in a lot of ways, but I'm also open to like all kinds of interpretations of anything, even ones
You seem to
that
be
contradict. I like things that kind of coincide
Hold on.
and
But
coexist.
you seem to be less receptive to scientific theories and more receptive to the crazy, outlandish, spiritual kind of.
I think you take me out of
Stuff,
proportion. Like the other night when I was here, Taylor was saying, "Oh, Sam believes in astrology and all that shit," and I never said that. I never said.
Well, Taylor
that.
likes to make large, sweeping accusations.
And I don't believe in astrology. But
in fact, Sam has given
I
multiple
don't
points
really-
that he believes. In fact, maybe 2 years ago, Sam himself was a believer in God, and also maybe 4 months ago, Sam was also a believer in astrology.
What do you mean? I was never said, "Oh yeah, astrology is the most legit thing on the planet."
Okay,
I've
so
never said that in my
we don't
life.
have the technology to bring up past conversations, but I am, in fact, probably 97% sure that you used to be a Christian.
Dude, 3 is a magic number. If you've seen Schoolhouse Rock, you know that's a fact, and I know you're a lying, cheating little monkey man. So, real quick though, I'm just trying to explain my upbringing and how it's gone back and forth. I was gonna get to all that too. You just like
Okay,
to jump
go
the
ahead.
gun and try to.
I
expose.
just, you just
I was
kinda,
about to get to that. I was telling how I was raised, how I lost it, how I came back, and where I'm at now.
So your life is basically the hero's journey, right, Sam?
I don't even know how to perceive.
It's the
what you
the
just
beginning,
said.
middle, and end.
You should give the mic to one of these gentlemen.
You
You're
guys can't
drunk.
tell, but I am very sad at the moment. I don't.
Adults talk to
Oh. Go ahead, Sam.
I don't even know what I was saying.
You were talking
after
about-
you berating.
Sam, you were talking about. God damn, that was very bad tangent. Sam, you were talking about.
I was
how
talking,
you were raised.
So yeah, basically, very Christian, rich, wealthy.
Yeah.
Went to church, prayed before dinner, and around the time that I was like
Dear 6 pound, 11 ounce.
7,
Baby Jesus.
It was 2 weeks. 2 weeks after my 7th birthday that my parents separated and this and that, and I don't know. I was when I was really young. I have a great memory. I remember being ridiculously young. And I remember pooping in my pants, straight up.
I did that
Fucking
last month,
vividly.
dude. I remember that one too.
But no, I'm sorry, but I remember being young, and I remember having this. I was so goddamn innocent and super. I don't know. Not gullible, but. I mean, any kid's gullible at fucking 5, 4, 5, 6, but I was super.
That's why it's. I mean, I'd say that's why it's. I mean, someone like Richard Dawkins. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but in his book, The God Illusion, he argues that teaching children these ideas is actually akin to child abuse, right? Like telling them that if they don't believe in this faith, that they're going to go to hell. There was this whole play that was for I don't know 11-year-olds or even younger audiences, and it was supposed to be a depiction of hell, and this guy was trying to get the play to
Like a little
to be
puppet show or something.
yeah, and I don't remember the details, but yeah, that was part of it. And
It's indoctrination. Indoctrination. I mean, I kind of agree with that. Is child abuse. You want to. I would think that when you're raising a child, you would want to give them all sides and let them choose.
Yeah, like what you were saying your parents did, and they raised
yeah.
they raised a nice little guy, but from a tiny world. No, but no, I basically, I feel like being super young and innocent and feeling I don't know, I was super fortunate to grow up in a super rich and wealthy and nice family and fucking we had it good. I was kept in the dark on a lot of things, though. Like, my family had drama before I was born, and, like, it kind of started to boil to surface as I got older, and it kind of started with after my 7th birthday, like, when my parents separated, like, that for me, even though I know kids who grew up without a dad or their parents separated when they were 3, that was like the youngest and kind of most like I feel like a lot of people still remember when they're 7. Like, I remember it vividly and was so young and innocent still that it just like fucked me. Like, I'm over it now, obviously. It's been so many years. But like, I remember that being like, is God real? I feel like that was probably one of the first times I questioned if God was real. Like, I was like, what do you mean? Like, I pray, I'm 5 years old. I've been doing everything right. I literally don't put up a fuss. I'm a good kid, you know, like, and like, I was just like, why is this happening to me? And then as just going through life and being bullied and heartbreak and all kinds of bullshit, I started to like kind of, I never really like straight up was like fuck religion or fuck Christianity, like it doesn't exist, but I just kind of strayed away from it slowly, I guess. And then I actually had a weird experience. I don't know if I've shared with any of you that it's kind of a longish story. I don't know. I'll try to give it in a nutshell, but it's going to sound so stupid in a nutshell, and I'm sure you boys will have plenty to say about it. But I basically, years ago, it was my senior year of high school, I went to Sedona with like my dad and his old wife and my old stepbrothers, and we like went to a resort, and I was in the sauna, and I was the only one in the sauna, and I was sitting in there for a while alone, you know, and I heard, just like relaxing in the sauna, and I heard like singing and crying at the same time outside of the sauna, and it was in like the big locker room bathroom thing at the resort. And this like fucking guy walks in, and he just...
So you're talking about a religious experience right now?
I don't know, man. I'm not going to call it that. No. I just had an interesting experience, put it that way. And basically, this guy walked in. I used to remember what he was singing. It wasn't anything religious or anything. He was just singing...
Spiritual experience.
No, he wasn't singing... Just a strange experience, man. You're making assumptions.
Oh, well, I thought that was you were going with it. Like,
well, kind of like, I don't know. It was weird. This guy basically like walked in and like was super bug-eyed. Like, he looked like, I don't know. I know this sounds ridiculous or whatever. Like, it wasn't like you're a different species or anything. He was clearly just a guy, but I feel like his pupils are huge. Like, he might have been tripping balls or something, you know? Just like big eyes. Some people have super big eyes. Some people have big eyes.
Like, every time you remember something, you remember the memory. You don't remember the actual incident.
Right. I'm just saying he had big eyes. Have you never seen someone with abnormally large eyes? Like, I have. Yeah, everyone has. Yeah. He just had bigger eyes. And, you know, he looked like he was tripping balls because he literally walked in like, and he looked at me. And I looked at him, and then, you know, he sat down in the sauna, and we're both like naked in a towel, right? And this dude has a fuckload of like scars riddled all over his torso. And he's like a young dude, like maybe mid to late 20s, shoulder length, longish hair, just like a regular looking dude, except he has a bunch of scars and he's like, looks like he's tripping balls. And kind of gave me surfer guy vibes a little bit. But he just looked at me.
That's surfer guy vibes?
For a while. And he just said, I forget the first thing he said, but I said, I said, "Are you tripping or something?" And he said, "Tripping, no." And he's like, "Drugs are for a weak mind," or something like that. And he was super punctual and super literate, very, spoke well, and he was very, like, just looking at me, and I don't know, man, like, I didn't. I know you guys, how you guys are thinking and shit, but I'm just saying, like, this guy walked in and I immediately just felt weird. Not like, oh, this guy's a tweaker or anything, but just like something odd that I wasn't super familiar with. And he sat with me and he like said something. I forget the first thing he said, but I said, "Are you tripping or something?" And he said, "Tripping, no. Drugs are for a weak mind." And I was just telling Taylor, he was very literate, very punctual, and seemed sophisticated, but I was just like, "You look like you're tripping balls, dude." Like, or I was just talking to this guy like a normal guy because he struck up a conversation with me. And he just looked at me, and he was like straight face kind of the whole time, just like staring at me. And he's like, "I know who you are." And I was just like, "What do you mean?" And this is where it gets weird. He was just like, "Oh, my master sent me to talk to you." And I was just like, "Who's your master?" Like, I was so straight away from religion at the time. I didn't even think like this guy's a religious nut or any. I didn't think of God. I was just like, "Who's your master, dude? Like, is there someone stalking me?" And I was just like, "Who's your master?" And he smiled and he's like, "Oh, he goes by many names." What? And I was just like, "Okay." And I'm just like, "Dude, I don't know. I don't think you know who I am or whatever." And I'm like, "What's my name?" And he was just like, "This is where you're going to, say your shit." But he said, "Have faith," or whatever. And I just said, "Dude, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about." And he just said 3 letters. And I was like, "What?" And he said, "Your name." And he's like, "I know you're the youngest of 4. And this is straight up something that happened to me. You got to understand. There's a way I think.
Are you sure?
The way I think.
Are you sure, Sam?
I was fucking sober. Okay, I swear to Christ.
Listen, though, real quick.
Or
So
that doesn't mean shit, right?
Sometimes memories can coincide with dreams. Are you sure?
I'm 1,000% positive, dude. I was... Gabe can confirm it. Gabe can confirm it.
There was a separate human experience of that same situation?
What?
Someone else experienced that same thing?
I had a witness who saw... I'm not done with the story yet. You'll see why there's a witness. Basically, this guy...
I'm gonna be honest, for like half of it, I was like, "Where is this going?" And then you finally got to there. And then now there's more, though?
Yeah, there's more. It gets weirder, dude. I swear to God. Like, that doesn't mean anything. No. So just to kind of update Nick, I'm sorry. Taylor's heard this like 3 times now. Basically,
Nick went to the bathroom.
No, see, that's why Nick's...
We have to update him real quick.
Nick missed the beginning. Nick missed the beginning.
I'm sorry, dude, but it sounds to me as if either you're remembering a dream or this guy is...
Dude, but that's... Do you know how frustrating... Do you know how frustrating that is for me? Like, have you ever just know... Like, you're... Like, did you fucking go to work the other day, Taylor? Are you sure you weren't dreaming? Like, that's how fucking sure I am.
This is the problem with
like, I remembered it the same way. It was only like 3 years ago, man. 4 years ago.
So for the same reason that you're saying we can't tell you what it was, you kind of can't tell us what it was because you experienced it.
I'm just telling you.
Doesn't mean
like a story, right. I guess, if you want to think of it as a story, and telling you it happened to me to the T, and you can take that in as much as you would or wouldn't like. But basically, yes, I'm giving you my word. You can say I'm remembering a dream, but let me finish.
Yeah, go on.
Basically, this guy, to update Nick, this guy walked in. He had a bunch of scars on him. Yeah. And he, got to talking to me, and I was just like, are you tripping? And he said, no, drugs are for a weak mind. And he was very sophisticated and literate. And I just was like, what's up? Like, you look like you're tripping. And he's like, I know who you are. And I was just like, what the hell are you talking about? And he said, my master sent me to talk to you. And I just said, who the hell's your master or whatever? And like, I was so strayed from religion at the time. I wasn't even like thinking, oh, this guy's a religious nut. I didn't think God. I thought, is someone stalking me or something? I didn't know. Okay. I was like, who's your master, dude? And he was just like, he goes by many names and stuff. And I just said, I think you have the wrong guy. Like, what's my name? And he was like, have faith. And I was just like, dude, you're dumb. And he said 3 letters. And I said, what's 3 letters? And he said, your name. Sam. And I was just like, what the fuck? And he said, you're the youngest of 4.
In this sauna, is there a locker room somewhere you kept a bag with your name on it?
No.
Is there a way
I didn't have a
see
bag
who
or
you're
anything.
With? Like, dude, you got to think like...
I went there. I went to the pool. All I brought was a towel and a bathing suit, and I went to the sauna.
You were with your parents?
From the pool.
Did
My
he meet your
parents weren't
beforehand?
with us. They were at the bar.
Probably saw that you were with these boys.
I had no name tagger. No one.
Still, man, like he probably heard you. He probably heard your parents saying Sam or something. Like
he wasn't a dude.
Dude, you never know. The fact that he knew your name and shit, that is the most the craziest shit.
He didn't say my name.
He said 3 letters.
He said 3 letters. There's tons of 3 letters names. Bob, Tom, Cat, Paul.
Okay,
not Paul, but
still, man.
Tim. There's so many 3-letter names.
So
dude.
I got a question.
He could have been bullshitting. I'm not saying this is just an experience I had. He said you're the youngest of 4, shit like that.
All right.
And he wouldn't tell me. Basically, he wouldn't tell me who his master was. But
so, what is your theory about this guy? Like,
so when he left the room. No, I don't think he was God. I don't think he was God. I asked him what his name was, and he said his name was Joseph. Dude, that doesn't mean shit. Joseph is a very religious name. It is. Do you even, without you saying anything, do you even know how it's religious? It's Jesus' dad, but it's not like, yeah.
Jesus' dad is not. Wait, hold on. Actually, you are right about that. But Jesus was conceived without sperm. Sorry.
I know, but it was still the man who raised Jesus.
Sorry.
Joseph was the man who raised Jesus.
Yes.
That Jesus called Father.
I gotta just.
But that's not.
Taylor was saying
I'm not
some
saying.
stuff, and he didn't have the microphone, so he didn't quite hear it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry. Kind of.
But
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not saying, and that's just what he told me his name was. And then, basically his friend, I asked him about his friend who was crying because I heard crying out there and him like talking to him. And I was just like, like what, is your friend okay and stuff? And he's like, oh yeah, he's all right. Like we just lost a friend of ours today. He was 84 or something. And I was like, oh, damn, I'm sorry to hear that. And I'm like, and he was like, yeah. And he was like talking about, I don't know. I'm not going to go into that. He was saying some weird shit. But
are you trying to get to a point? Sam?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am going off on a tangent. But basically, when he left the room, I don't know like how to describe.
Okay, let's just try to think about this from like a probability perspective.
Hold on.
Maybe.
Let me just speak this.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll have plenty to say about this, but I experienced this, man. I fucking went into like, I don't know what happened. Like, I could have had a weird seizure or minor seizure or something, but I experienced a moment where I was like paralyzed and I could not move like, I swear to God. God damn it, I keep saying that.
Yeah, that doesn't hold any bearing.
Everyone
with us.
said, I swear, how about that?
Buddy,
I swear on my left nut.
This could be like a traumatic episode that occurred with you. and
No,
you're just
I
forgetting
was...
things that happened, and you just
But
Dude,
you always just shoot for coincidence with Simpsons or with anything.
Simpsons Razor.
I'm shooting for a logical standpoint. You're not remembering something that happened. There's a blank part in your story.
So
here.
basically, listen here.
Occam's Razor states that.
Look,
you
it'll
should
end.
take
It's a
the
happy ending
easiest
for you
and
guys.
least
It's a happy
confusing
ending for
solution.
you guys. Let me finish this story, and you guys will be like, see?
I'm sorry. Go
You
ahead.
want a nice, satisfying little
Let's hear it.
atheist ending?
Let's hear it. I'm
All right.
excited.
So basically, this guy was like, my master misses you and blah, blah, blah. And he wants like to talk to you again and this and that. And he said in the next 7 days, my master will reveal himself to you in 3 ways. And I was like, okay. And later on, my like brother or something like pointed out the significance of Christianity in that statement, that the Bible says like God created the world in 7 days or whatever, and Jesus rose from the cross on the 3rd day or whatever the fuck, I don't know. But yeah, basically he told me that. I didn't think anything of it Christianity wise at the time, but I like told my brother about it because he came back in with his friend who was sobbing, the guy, and then they left again. And my brother, or Gabe and Nate were in there, and Gabe went up to him while I was in the shower or whatever and asked him, like, who's your master or whatever. And he said something like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit or whatever. And I was like, all right, man, like, that was a fucking insane experience. I'll look for his master in the ways he said, 3 ways in 7 days. Like, and I fucking like looked for any sign without trying to be like too overbearing or anything. I looked for any little thing that could be like proof of God was with me or whatever, and I never saw shit.
How skinny was this guy?
God, that's so funny.
He wasn't that skinny. He was just a normal build. Who's fit?
So, well, I wanted to make a point about that because you said that you were looking for any sign, and I
didn't
kind
find any though.
I mean, I know, but that's even if you did, because you could take anything, really.
I know,
And
but I was looking for anything. Think about it.
But isn't that
that's why I was even less likely after that to be.
But that kind of
about
makes
it.
you fall into the confirmation bias, where you.
But I didn't confirm
you're-
anything.
Right,
feel
but,
like you're
but
contradicting
the
yourself.
point is you were searching for something
Yeah,
to basically
because
prove it.
because of a weird experience. Like, I know maybe you guys think I'm remembering it differently, but let's just, in the most imaginative, theoretical term, say that happened. Then, God, you just distracted the fuck out of me.
funny.
I hate you.
Apologies, guys.
Hold on. No, shut up.
band
Shut up,
of
Taylor.
witches
Shut
just
up. Shut
walked
up,
by.
Taylor. Shut up, Taylor.
Jesus Christ.
Let's just say that happened. What I just said. Okay? Let's say that. Shut up. Let's say that happened.
Witches just walked by.
Damn it.
I
Okay,
can't
hey,
remember. I am losing train
I'm
of
sorry,
thought,
Sam.
and you're
I'm
blabbing
sorry, Sam.
bullshit.
Think about it real quick. Some girls
Energy.
walked by and Taylor's horny.
A band of witches, I tell you.
Okay. Go
Dude,
ahead,
you
Sam.
literally platinum
All right.
Skyrim and bragged about it and said that jacking off is better than sex.
I literally never said jacking off is better than sex. He asks me. I told him actually.
You said you love jacking off.
Well, who
After
the
I
fuck
said you
doesn't-
don't
okay,
get
okay.
laid.
Who the fuck doesn't love jacking off? First of all,
I do.
Second of
yeah.
all,
I
just,
mean,
first of all, let me speak here, okay?
Uh-huh.
So,
topic hop. No.
I told-
Jacking off for sex.
I told him.
Someone was saying something about.
No, you know what? I don't think he was saying anything. So,
I personally think we should move on.
Yeah, okay.
I think we've been on this topic
Yeah.
too long. I mean, I don't mean to like.
No, you're right.
I mean, is there like a basic point you're trying to get to with the story? Like, what's the moral of the story here?
honestly, I find it very interesting. Very interesting. But there are. No, okay, so that's just a possibility that you could be remembering it wrong, but I mean, there's just so many ways you could look at it. Like, this guy could have been insanely doped up on drugs. Like, he could have just. You said he was bug-eyed. Like,
It's
come on,
much more
man.
likely.
Very literate and very like.
You can do methamphetamine, Samuel. You become very literate.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
Okay, hold on.
Been around someone on meth? I've smoked meth.
It's just if it.
And were you not literate?
Okay, maybe we
Your-
shouldn't have
your-
that
Your
on
mind
that.
works differently
But,
than other people's. Okay,
uh,
maybe he wasn't on meth, but I'm telling you, man. Like, actually, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But he,
Well, it's more likely that there's some, like he somehow gathered that information about you.
yes, that's exactly.
There's way less.
That's
steps
way
involved with
more
that.
probable than like he's a
Occam's
god
razor.
or right. We're coming back to Occam's razor.
I never once during that story said that I believed
Okay.
any of that.
Sam,
Other than the only way I said anything was that I searched for something after he said to. I
You
did,
said-
but that's
yeah, you-
only because of the experience I had, and it was weird. I'm not saying it was a religious experience, but it was.
What are you
To
saying?
the T.
I'm trying to say.
I'm just
what
saying
is-
it was an experience. There's a reason I'm a little bit more like I won't accept anything. I won't deny anything because I've experienced things that I can't explain
But
in
what
my
the fuck
life.
are you saying though? Like, because you're saying it's not religious. So what is it? What are you saying?
I'm just saying it's weird. I'm
It
just
is
saying.
weird. So but then why does it? Is it like? And then we're trying to give you like ways that it could be possibly easily explained, and you're like, well, no, there's probably weirder explanation. What's
Because
that about?
I'm that I usually lean towards a weirder explanation because
My
I think
point exactly.
because I
Sam,
think the possibilities
what I
are infinite.
What I was trying to say earlier.
But what I just made the point of, which I don't think you're getting, is that it's much more probable that that he gathered that information
right.
some
Like-
rational
like
way
what I said
rather
earlier.
than it. So it's. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how.
But what the hell would his motive be for some guy he didn't know at all
He's a
that is in
tweak,
high school?
Samuel. He's a tweak. He's just fucking doing shit because he thinks it's a good idea. He sees you, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking."
I
tell
could
this
see it
kid the
as a
whole-
way of
this
him trying to
fucking-
impress you, or like trying. I don't know. I mean, I don't
Have you
know,
done
man.
drugs?
I mean,
But
why?
what
I
you're
think they're
saying-
equally as probable.
Samuel, have you done drugs before and just thought that you should talk to people and tell them the thoughts that you're having? The same thing happens, but when you
Yeah, but I don't fucking try to trick them into knowing their name.
This guy is probably
Why did he know my name was 3 letters, and why did he know I was the youngest of 4?
Because you said earlier, there's
I think-
a lot of 3-letter names.
Let's just.
also.
Can we just move on?
Also, no, can I just say-
I think
can
we
say-
should just
can I
move
say
on.
one thing, please. Let me say one thing.
Can we vote?
Let's move
If
on.
we don't vote, can Sarkis just?
Which one, Taylor? Are we moving on?
I want to say one thing.
Okay, fine. One more.
That's it.
Can we
You can't say
just?
one
Can he
thing.
make one
He
more
wants-
thing
Sam
and
wants
that's
to move
it?
on.
One thing.
Oh god damn it! All right,
Jesus
say one thing.
Christ! I mentioned it earlier. So where were you? You were at like a resort or something, right? So you were with your family. Okay, so maybe you weren't looking for this guy before you saw him. So he could have just been there. You didn't recognize him. He saw you with your
Dude,
family. He notices
Tweaks don't go to resorts. You gotta be bricked to go to a resort.
You
Okay,
never know, dude. Like
the
all right,
and
all right, I'm
and
sorry.
he has
this
scars all
topic's
over
done.
his
That's what I'm
chest.
saying. We're done.
He had
We're done.
scars all over his chest. Like, why would I make up some silly story? Like I think weirdly because I've experienced weird things. That's why I'm not always so quick to be like, oh, it's not logical, because I've experienced things that aren't logical that I can't explain.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah, what's up?
What was one of these main things that you've written down that you wanted to talk about?
Were you looking at one of these?
No,
or
anything on the whole
just
card.
any of them?
Yeah.
Let's talk about aliens.
We already talked about it.
No, we didn't.
We fit them in.
Well, I mean, we were going to talk about ghosts, but I feel like that's kind of related to what we were just talking about. I don't know if we should.
It gets religious. I mean, it gets.
It's just
kind of
gonna go
It's going to
back.
go back to the same thing. Yeah.
So, I mean, we could talk about free will. I mean, I think that would be kind of interesting, and whether or not,
That's fun. I'm down.
are we free to choose? Like, could we have done otherwise? I don't think we choose.
So you think that the universe is determined?
Well,
You're determined-
regardless
you're
if it's
determinism.
even if it's quantum randomness.
You don't believe in fate.
No, fate and lack of free will are essentially the same thing.
synonymous, really.
I don't think, because there's,
So you do believe in fate.
Well,
Yes.
not necessarily, because you can. But hold on.
well, what do you mean by fate?
Yeah,
exactly?
because fate would be. Sam, you got to start talking with the microphone.
we have to define these terms.
And-
Let's define.
Yeah, I would say that fate would be like you can change your fate. You can not fulfill your fate. You can choose to fulfill your fate or not. What would you say, Sam?
I don't think you can choose your fate. I think fate, by definition, is the thing that you cannot choose, but
So
you
what about
have
in
to.
these superheroes movies when they're like, you got to change your fate.
I don't think that makes any sense,
All right.
because how do you define fate?
Okay.
What is fate?
No, you
Fate is the
yeah,
same
you're right,
thing
you're right.
as predetermined.
So
So when
I
Oedipus,
get what you're
so
saying.
Do you know the story of Oedipus or whatever, the king? It's like he was fated to like kill his dad and marry his mom.
I do, yes.
It's a weird story. Read it in Kramer's class.
oh, then yes, I just failed that class.
Uh,
I remember weird shit though. I just would get high a lot in that class and not pay attention.
so when we say that Oedipus is fated to do those things, what we're implying is that Oedipus could not have chosen otherwise. Right? That's what fate means. It's so if you're fated to die by heart attack, it means you're going to die by heart attack, and there's nothing you absolutely cannot do anything to change that.
But do you believe when you're born, your death is your fate, or the way you die?
Everything in your life is fated.
Okay.
I believe.
But I feel like a lot of
In
people's
some sense,
thing
yeah.
of fate. I don't think you can change your fate, but I feel like a lot of people think like,
You
oh,
definitely made me. I agree with you now. I said that wrong.
it's my.
I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, it's a common thing, but I don't.
Like
If
it's
we're
my
taking it in-
it's my fate to be the president, right? Let's say
Okay,
that.
Yeah.
But does that mean like I don't have to work for it, or like what? I don't know. That I feel like that's how a lot of people think of fate.
I feel like that's asking the wrong question. I feel like that's just simply not the right thing to ask.
Well,
Ouch.
you asking that question itself would be fated, right? Everything. There's
So-
basically no
so
escape.
everything
There's no
that
escape
happens
from
is
it.
fate.
Yes. I mean,
If
now
I
it
poop
may not.
my pants right now, it was
yeah.
fate.
Well, so okay.
Nick, you're saying we were supposed to come here today and talk and
Well,
make this
supposed to
podcast.
when
yeah,
you say
now you're getting weird. That's what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of people think like fate is supposed to.
What do you mean by supposed to? Because it's not like
Well,
'cause I think
fate-
supposed to-
I always thought fate was at like a religious standpoint. Like,
Yeah, that's why.
oh no, I'm sorry. I'm not thinking of fate. I'm thinking of faith. Is that the same thing?
faith. No.
No. Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
no.
thinking of two different things then. So,
Fate. FATE. So I mean, one way to look at it is like what determinism says is if you're a hard determinist, then you believe that everything now that's happening right now is a consequence of everything that previously happened.
Okay.
So it's basically cause and effect, right? I guess you could, if like
Entropy.
Yeah, well, if let's just say the Big Bang.
I guess entropy is inherently random, maybe too.
Well, it gets weird when you start to bring quantum mechanics into it, because then it's possible that there are certain things, like Schrodinger's cat would be an example, I guess, of an event that wouldn't necessarily be deterministic, I guess. I guess that comes back to like which interpretation you think is correct. Because I guess I don't know. To me, it doesn't really matter. Even if it's quantum randomness, even if the future is randomly selected, it still doesn't leave any room for will, like a free will, right?
But I feel like free will, in its simplest terms, is to do. Do you just mean free will, like basically we're a prisoner to our fate? Like, you don't mean free will like I have the free will to move my arm right now? Like,
I think that would mean. I think he would say that that's like supposed to happen. Like,
yeah. So you think that you thought to do that, but what happened was the thought mysteriously popped into your head to start moving your arm.
you prompted that thought, though,
No.
with what you said prior. Yeah, you did.
No, but what prompted the thought that I had that prompted your thought? So like every time, I guess like a good example is like if you try to think of like there's this guy named Sam Harris. He's like a philosopher. He's very like, he's an advocate for like determinism, basically.
Okay.
And he kind of makes, one of the arguments he makes is like if you try to think of like a movie, just like any movie, right? Like if there's any decision that isn't constrained by like society or like any kind of outside force, it's simply something like choosing a movie.
Yeah.
Right? But immediately when you try to pick a movie, that immediately just comes to your head. Like right now I could think of like Interstellar or I don't know, Fight Club.
Right.
You know, I could just keep generating. But I'm not the one generating
Super bad.
that. Right? So first we have to eliminate all the movies that we couldn't possibly think of because we just haven't seen them or we've never heard of them. So
Right.
we don't have the freedom to choose any of those movies, right?
I don't think of that as freedom, though, and I feel like that's kind of the.
No,
I
but
feel
think
like
about it, though,
we
because-
interpret free will differently because I feel like it is my free will.
Yeah, but what makes
like if I really wanted right now, I could go run in traffic, get hit by a car, and either end up in the hospital or die. You know, and if I die,
but
is
you're
that
not
my fate?
okay.
Is that like
You're not even sure how you're, like, the sentence I'm now bringing into the present, I don't even know how I'm generating it.
okay?
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Like
just
it's
saying,
against your
I'm
will?
just saying words. But there's some process in my brain that's occurring before I say those words that then allows me to articulate them and then say them. But there's always going to be some physical process that comes first.
so playing guitar is, essentially like when you're like, you're playing in a concert and you've practiced a song many, many, many times before, you're just doing it, right? That kind of has to deal with what you're saying, right? Like it's kind of that thing, just to relate it better to him.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard concept to.
I feel like I know what you're like that. I feel like that's just like you're ingraining something into your brain with routine and practice and it becomes
Well, like what
second
makes
nature.
you make a decision, right? What's the nature of a decision, right? Like you'll have thoughts, right? A lot of what really makes you decide what you're going to do is you're going to have a thought about it. But if you're not generating, it's not like before you have thoughts, you're like picking which thoughts you're going to think, right?
Well, so what do you guys say? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, is that people say, like, I have a lot of terrible, shitty thoughts,
Okay.
and is that what they don't define you or whatever because they're randomly generated? Is that what you're getting at, almost?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're basically just the person that's observing them.
So there's no need to feel bad.
So I was going to bring up a point.
No.
So the where does it kind of goes into like where does your consciousness stem from? And is it like Is it like are you? See, is it some sort of higher? I'm speaking very metaphorically here.
Mhm.
Like something higher than the universe that you're kind of just riding the wave of physics, and that's what your consciousness is, or is it something that's just a pattern?
I think it's
happening?
an emergent property.
Right.
So
right.
matter,
like magnetism is
Right.
an emergent property of the electromagnetic force.
So I guess you could say atoms or rearrange themselves if they arrange themselves in a specific way, then they can basically produce consciousness. I guess that's the I mean the basic idea is that it's all physical. Now is that faith? Do you have to have faith to believe that? I mean, I don't necessarily think so. I think a lot of like what we know about the brain and just nature in general, like science, tells us a lot about. I mean, I think the problem is the brain is so complex that it's basically impossible to predict what a person is going to do at any given moment.
Right. Unless they're a predictable
But
person.
an interesting idea is if you could make a map of the brain, or there's this idea, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but if you knew the position of every single particle in the universe, could you then predict the future? What do you think of that?
I mean, I don't. That's such a big question, but like,
How is that? I'm almost not sure how that's relative.
because how is that not relative at all? That's the most relative.
You
That's
said
like
if you could
the very-
predict
if you could take
every
a
single
measurement-
particle in the universe.
All right, Sam. If you can take a measurement of every single particle, or if we're gonna go even deeper, every single combination of super strings,
Mhm.
Nick.
In the universe,
Yeah. Oh, fuck. What were you saying?
if you could take if you could predict or measure,
Yeah. If you can measure all of it, then
Yeah.
you can based on the things that you know about science, infer what's going to happen next, and then next, and then next, and then as a whole, see what's going to happen with the universe.
Yeah, so how that I just want to make 2 points. One, that how it's relevant to free will or lack of free will is, I mean, all you have to basically assume is that we're no different than any other. What we're made of is essentially what everything else is made of, right? And then, I mean, I don't know if just with the positions of every particle or whatever it is that's the most fundamental. I guess maybe it's superstrings. You'd have to know at least probably the position and I guess the direction or the frequencies. I mean, I don't know where that would lead, but
You would have to know the state of every particle, so like its spin and its momentum and its mass and its velocity. I mean, all of its identifying properties, all of them. And you would have to know its resting properties and what it's expected to do based on calculated events. And then, so you can, right. I mean, you could, I think that that's a pretty, I think that could happen, that you could know what every particle, if you could know what every particle is doing. See, but then you get into quantum randomness.
Okay, so just to recap or kind of jump back a bit, you asked a question that made me think of another question. You asked where does consciousness stem from, or something along those lines, and it made me think, where individuality kind of comes from. Like, how am I different than you? Not just in the way we look, but the way we are and act. And obviously, it's because of our upbringings and shit. But it's kind of, if you think about like the way we think and shit like that, how come my siblings aren't like the same as me or whatever? And I don't know.
I mean, no, like, well, yeah, like
individuality. I kind of
you all had
delved
fairly
into it a bit, but
similar experiences, right? But like, you are kind of all similar. Like, there is things that are more similar about you guys than there is about you and other people. I mean, it's in your genes, like, right? And that's
maybe like as far as like maybe idiosyncrasies or little things, minuscule gestures or things we do or phrases or something. I don't know, but
you're saying that you might think that your fundamental consciousness is different from theirs, even though your genes are the same, and also your fundamental consciousness is different from everybody else's.
Yeah, everyone's is. I mean, there's cookie cutters, but they have their own line of thinking. I mean, I'm sure it's similar to a lot of other people's, and then there's other people who, think differently, but everyone thinks in the most general terms very similar to one another as far as, has thoughts of doubt and moments of happiness and shit like that.
I think that goes into the structure of the brain. And do you know how thought works and stuff like that? Like, there's neurons in your brain. Your brain is composed of gray matter and neurons, and their pathways. I can't quite remember what it was, so I guess I'm speaking out of term. But thank you. There's when you create a new thought, like when you learn something new, there's a new neural pathway created in your brain. There's a new way that two parts of your brain, given their neurons, can talk to each other. And that's what a new thought is. And sometimes that new neural pathway relates to learning a guitar, and sometimes it relates to having a thought.
Right, but
an original thought.
In my head, I imagine, those neurons or whatever things that formulate thoughts are prompted by things, and I feel like what Nick's kind of saying is they aren't, and they're kind of just like they're going to happen inevitably, like at random.
I would say they're prompted by things, but the things they're prompted by are physical things. Right?
And that's
so
the
the neurons are making connections. Well, what makes neurons function? It's like you can just keep going smaller and smaller until you hit the base rock of whatever it is. I don't know if it could be strings. It could be
a neuron functions through just gaining a charge and then letting that charge go. And then I guess you can go again smaller and explain how electromagnetism works, and then explain how it comes about, and then explain how that comes, and then go deeper. So
go deeper than we anticipated. No. Then we're able to fathom, perhaps. But I just feel like I don't know. I feel like I just feel like everyone is different, or has, whether you like it or not, everyone has a sort of spirituality to them. Like they're
Well, like their sense of self, I guess.
Yeah, and
Right?
I feel like that's immeasurable and kind of beyond our comprehension.
Well, no, it's
and we
not
can't-
immeasurable though. As
How do
far
you measure someone's self or personality, though? I mean, other than in traits and just words. How do you scientifically measure someone's personality and
well, it's so complicated.
themself?
I don't think we necessarily understand it that well.
But
That's
you
why.
think it's
that's why-
possible?
yes.
Okay, well, but it's kind of far fetched, isn't it?
No, I don't. I mean, do you have anything to say about it, Sarkis?
I feel like why is that any less far fetched than some of the more opposing ideas I have of, a spiritual realm or whatever?
Why is it far fetched to do what? Why is it far fetched to do what?
I believe that there is like a rational explanation.
That there is or could be a scientific way to measure one's personality and self.
Right. Well, so back to what I was saying, those neural pathways can be, a thought, or then is it so complex that it creates the consciousness? The neural pathways in all its complexity is as a whole your consciousness, or at least some parts of it that makes your consciousness. And then on top of it, there's motor functions and autonomic stuff. And
Well, sure, but
like-
that's detrimental to just being a functioning human being.
But then
right?
I'm
that's
saying
not.
it's
are there
still-
people? Are there more meek? More kind of like boring people that have less of those. But
Yes.
they're it's not like they're on the spectrum. They're just a normal person.
It would also have to do with your genetics.
Like
in
what
the
what
sense
makes what can you measure?
that your brain would look like your parents?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
Go ahead.
can you measure that which or I'm sure you guys could tell me at least this much. Can you tell me what it is in the brain or wherever the fuck that makes someone else more eccentric than another person?
No, the brain
Or-
is
or
so
like-
hard and complex to understand.
But
You could just point to like a spot and say, "Oh, that's where your eccentric personality comes from."
but why not? Like why?
Because
like
it's really complicated.
it's you've heard of a neural network.
that's
It's-
what make. I mean,
It's a very how many neural networks are there? Like in your brain, there's like, there's an unfathomable amount. Like the amount of neurons simply in your brain, and then so imagine. Okay, let's start at basic. There's two neurons. Okay, they can they form a neural connection, and now they're just passing charge between each other. Okay, that's all that's happening between those two neurons. Those two neurons have the capability of telling one signal from another. That's it. It can only go yes or no, on or off, black and white, 1, 0, whatever you want to say.
up down.
Yeah, whatever you want to say. Then bring it to 2. Now they can form more like a more complex. Now it can go 1 on and 2 off, or 2 on and 1, and then do it again with another one. Now there's more, and then eventually, I don't know how many neurons it takes. Eventually, you'll get to the point where you can send a signal down your arm to move it, and then go more. You can form a sense of self and consciousness.
So essentially, what you're saying is like I am the way I am because I have more going
More
on
or
over
less.
here and less going on over here, but it's so beyond our comprehension we can't measure it.
You're different from me because your the patterns and neural networks within your brain are different from mine. That's simply it.
But they're different in everyone's no.
They are. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why everyone's different.
So
But there's generally some similarities. Like we all have a frontal a frontal lobe, and all of it, whatever the hell. There's so
the
many.
brain.
The brain.
We all have a brain.
Corpus callosum. You got it. Yeah. So yeah, there's general, and then there's general pathways that can easily happen. So that happens generally through all humans. And then there's more specific things that only happen through certain outside occurrences that you then...
I don't know. I
wanted to bring up actually a really strange idea, which is there are certain cases of severe epilepsy where people go under split brain surgery. And what happens is they've done... Basically, psychologists have done tests on these people. And basically, the left and right hemispheres are basically unable to communicate with each other. And then strange things start to happen when they can't communicate. Basically, they can act almost like two separate consciousness in some sense. It's really like I don't remember which side is responsible for what, but one side I think is primarily responsible for language, right? And then the other side, let's just say the left hemisphere is like language or symbols. And then let's say the right hemisphere has to do with, I guess, motor movement, right? Like moving objects and
much more. Like they each have...
Yeah, well, it's a lot more complicated
and then
than that.
When they're not split, they obviously talk to each other and make more things happen.
Yes, but what was strange was that they did these tests where they would show one side of the brain, so like, because the left side of your body is controlled by your right hemisphere, generally speaking, and then the right side by the left, generally speaking. So,
don't they say like one's a more creative side, or
I mean, it's complicated.
They say like that.
It's more complicated than that.
No, I'm sure, but in the that's what they say. The generic public,
something like that. Yeah, and I don't believe that to be true. But
you understand why they say that, because when you dive more into it, there's one side that's more responsible for more like motor skills, and there's another side that's responsible for more thinking skills, or maybe emotions more, whatever.
Yeah, so I guess the point I was trying to get at was they did these experiments where like they would have the patient close their right eye, and then they would see an image on a screen with their left eye. Or maybe, did they do it the other way around? Okay, they close their left eye, the one that's better at understanding language, and they open their right eye, and they were told to... They are basically shown an image of an object on a screen. Let's just say it's like like a block of wood or something small, like a small block of wood. And then they were told to grab the object. And like basically what happened was like they were able to grab the object, but they weren't able to understand when they were told to, when their left visual field, so the one responsible for language, they understood what it meant. But then with the right visual field, they couldn't understand what that meant, because they couldn't understand what it was communicating to them. But they could still grab the object. I don't know. I'm not explaining this very well. But
what are you getting at?
Basically, when you split the brain like that, the point I'm trying to get, because we're talking about consciousness and I guess the nature of consciousness to some degree, and I think I don't know, I pretty much botched that experiment, but basically what it was saying is different parts of the brain. Well, another weird thing that would happen was somebody with the split brain, they could be reading a book, right? And then like one of their hands could just suddenly shut the book. Because like one part of their brain basically essentially wanted to read the book, and another part basically was done reading it.
Is that a common thing? Do you know? Split brain syndrome?
No, it's pretty rare that's done.
It's obviously probably fairly rare.
As far as I know,
evolutionary very bad.
Yeah, it's usually as far as I know, it's usually done in very severe cases of epilepsy where people just have repeated
Do-
seizures.
Does
like,
that
uncontrollable.
does that affect like
But-
the person though and who they are, like their personality? Do you
Yeah.
think?
So like it's kind of like their personality splits. Like
Is there
they
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, you could almost kind of see it as they split into two different people. Because those two sort of, although I don't want to I don't want to say anything that
There's no need to demonize one side or the other.
yeah, so it just kind of makes you question like what consciousness is really like, I guess, like and how, you know, if you linked like two people's consciousness together, if you could do that somehow, like would it be two separate like competing consciousness, or would it meld into like one whole? Like
That's a really
that's
cool
kind of
thought.
that's kind of a cool idea to
That's
think
a
about.
really cool thought. Like, what
Yeah.
I would think that it would probably do some kind of different. There would be some difference. You wouldn't. I don't think that you would have. I mean, obviously, I don't know, but I don't think that you would have two separate entities. I think that you would have a mixture of both, and maybe some parts of one or another will stick out more or less.
So you were saying, like one hand would want to close the book when they were reading it. Do you think that has to tie in with Tourette's or anything? Because I've seen videos recently where, I mean, they'll just act out randomly, like they'll be baking cookies or something, and then they'll, you know. I mean, I'm not saying like the left side of their body and the right side of their body are competing, but you know. So I guess it doesn't tie in at all. But,
yeah, I don't know. I don't think that necessarily has anything to do with it,
yeah.
because with Tourette's syndrome, you're dealing with people who do have the two hemispheres still connected, whereas in the split brain, it gets a lot more messy, I guess. But yeah, I feel like one of the places I kind of have seen that concept at play was like the melding of two separate consciousness, I guess. Is I don't know if you've read like the Aragon books, but basically, like, I don't know, I don't want to get too into it, but like there's like dragon riders.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was like this whole war between like I think like elves or like men and dragons, and then eventually they like came together and made peace, and eventually these dragon riders were formed, and they have these special bonds with like their dragons, and like Aragon is one of those. He becomes a dragon rider, so he has.
Yeah.
They have this special connection where they share consciousness, basically, or they can share their thoughts with each other if they choose to. And
Can that happen over distances?
yeah, but I think over a sufficiently, if they're separate enough, it can get to the point where they can't communicate anymore. But there are points throughout the book where they're basically fighting, like they're in like combat or battle, and their consciousness starts to mold together, like they start to become almost each other, like, and it's really interesting.
It's sort of like letting your mind take over when I'm going to bring up the example when you're playing a concert.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
sort of just
something like that.
letting the two do what they will.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I can't remember his name. Son of a bitch. Famous skateboarder, guy who invented the kickflip. Rodney Mullen.
Yeah.
So he says, sorry, jeez. I forget what he says, but he says, like you kind of forget most of like your knowledge in skateboarding and kind of just go off this like this little hint that you have at it, and in most senses, like it'll turn out to be what you need. Like you'll land that kickflip if you kind of just ease away, and you know.
Well, I'd say that has to do with, because when you're doing like any kind of, I guess, like a sport or any kind of like playing an instrument, when you truly know a piece of music, you're not actually thinking about playing it.
Absolutely not.
It just becomes basically unconscious.
Yeah,
It's just you've
entirely.
just built the pathways, I
Right.
guess,
It's
like the
just
neural
happening.
networks.
Yeah, you're just letting it happen. Like you're just letting yourself breathe.
Yeah.
Or you're letting your heart beat. It's the same thing.
But you're also playing it ever so slightly differently every single time you play it, if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what the practice does. Every single time you practice, you're playing it ever so slightly different, so that the one time when it does happen, you take it all as one and you play the average, and it's the best one.
Yeah.
But I mean, there kind of is no best one if they're ever changing, you know?
I didn't mean best one as in objectively best. I mean the one that you were able to just flow through.
Well, no, I'd
One
say
that's
that
like closest to perfection, kind of.
Not perfection, but like just literally just flow through the song and physically play the song. It's the one that just does it. It's the one that just goes, rather than when you're practicing, you're thinking about it and like putting it in your mind.
I understand.
Good.
all right. Well, I don't know if you guys want to get into any of these other questions.
I think I don't know. I think we've done long enough. What do you guys
I
think?
mean, yeah, we've pretty much
I'd have to
touched
agree.
everyone. Every
Yeah,
subject.
we got to save some juice for
Save some for the next time.
Yeah, for next time, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll think of other things.
All right. Well,
Hopefully, might talk about the same topics every episode.
yeah, the same or roughly or different.
Did you guys see that Mr. Poopy Butthole won the bracket on Instagram?
I don't know what you're
Did
talking
you see those?
Wait, what is it?
So like
It was
on
between
the
him and Mr. Meeseeks, who was the best Rick and Morty character.
yeah, they were doing this thing where you could
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Mr. Butthole ones. Are you kidding me?
yeah, he definitely deserved
Bird,
that.
Like all of the side characters were in it.
Meeseeks is kind of a chotch. He's kind of a dick.
So is Poopy Butthole,
Oh
though,
my
but
God.
He's awesome, though. He's awesome.
yeah,
Alright,
he's pretty
well-
great.
Thank you for listening, and catch us next time.